First things I did was I started looking at what nobody else was doing, because the phone was not ringing. No one was calling me. Nothing was happening. So I had a lot of time that I was able to sit at my desk and research. And I researched and I researched and I researched. And I looked what other agents were doing in other markets and researching algorithms for social media and what are the catch hashtags, what are all the things that I need to do to bring my face to the forefront and make people realize who I am.
Today we're speaking with Megan Juszczyk. She is located in Cold Lake, Alberta. She works with Royal LePage. She does 234 transactions in a year. She does that all with two other agents, one admin, and she has a marketing background. She has 10 years experience before getting into real estate, and she specializes in military and oil sector relocations as well. Megan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So Megan, can you give a little bit of your backstory of what actually brought you into real estate from your marketing career? So 10 years being in marketing, maybe you could share a little bit about that, and then what led you into real estate?
Yeah, so I started in marketing. I have a degree in linguistics. I went to University of Calgary, got a degree in linguistics, somehow worked my way into marketing communications with the government of the Northwest Territories, grew up in Yellowknife. And then when I moved to Cold Lake, I was trying to figure out something different to do. I wasn't loving what I was doing. I had a baby on the way and I wanted something where I had in my mind flexibility. And real estate just kind of popped into my head. And I thought, you know what, like we should give this a try. So I actually did my real estate license while I was on mat leave with my daughter and jumped in. The market in Cold Lake at that time was amazing, right? Oil was booming. Everything was amazing. It seemed like the greatest idea in the world. And literally the month that I got my license and signed on is when our market crashed. So I went straight into the worst market Cold Lake has ever had. We'd never been a depressed market. We'd never gone down in average sale prices in the history of Cold Lake. And I hit it right at that perfect sweet spot where the market just crashed.
What year was that?
That was 2014.
Got it.
Yeah, right at the end of 2014. It was literally the month when I look at the stats, the month I started in real estate was the month that the market just went flat for us. So timing was wonderful.
Well, it's interesting. One would look at that and maybe you could say that, that's really, that's bad timing, but we'll talk a little bit about probably how much of a gift that was. We'll circle back on that, but can you give a little bit more of a background on what kind of marketing you did, and then how you've been able to actually implement into your business the skill sets that you would have built through the years, being in marketing? Maybe you could share a little bit about your background there.
So I started with, my first job in communications was actually working for the Premier of the Northwest Territories. I still have no idea how I got that job. Got it with no experience, no education even at that point, and somehow just worked my way into this job where I'm doing all the marketing for the Premier. So there was a lot of the programs that I still use today that I learned on job when I was doing that job. And then I transitioned from there into the communications coordinator for the Department of Transportation up there. So that's when I started doing all of the newsletters for the department and a lot of the marketing material. I actually unveiled the new license plates at the time for the Northwest Territories, where they changed the polar bear and changed some of the stuff. So I learned how to market something and how to bring something to fruition and unveil it essentially to the world, right? So I was able to grab a lot of those things when I went into real estate and bring them with me. I already knew how to make, eye-catching newsletters. I knew how to talk in front of a camera. I knew how to do these things that honestly the agents in Cold Lake weren't doing yet. Our market was so hot at the time, agents didn't have to do anything. They put a sign on the lawn and it was sold the next day. So there was no need for any kind of marketing. There's no need for bringing things to the next level because everything was selling before it even hit the market.
That's phenomenal. So having that background would have given you that, that we'll say that advantage, especially that nobody else was doing at that time. So your timing right now, so you start in real estate, you get your license, you either are having a baby or just had a baby, right, at that time as well. So take us through what you did when you first got your license. The market crashed. Nobody else is doing any of this marketing. You have skill set there. What were some of the first things that you did to kick off your business?
First thing I did was probably crawl under my desk and cry. But I think any new agent felt that way. So the first things I did was I started looking at what nobody else was doing, because the phone was not ringing. No one was calling me. Nothing was happening. I had this 1-year-old baby at home. Actually, 2 months into my real estate career, I found I was pregnant again. So I'm also pregnant with my second kid and, trying to do all these things and nobody's calling me. No one's picking up the phone. No one wants the new agent when they can take the experienced agent when the market is so soft that they're so nervous about being able to sell. So I had a lot of time that I was able to sit at my desk and research. And I researched and I researched and I researched. And I looked what other agents were doing in other markets. And I looked at what was missing in my market and what people weren't doing that would set me apart. Because if I did the same old thing as the other agents that we have in Cold Lake, we got about 40, 45 agents in our town. I mean, we're only 13,000 people. If I look at what everybody else was doing and just did what they did, no one's going to call me because they're not going to call the inexperienced agent. So I went and looked at what the agents in bigger markets were doing. What were they doing different and what was missing? And so it was all about finding that missing step and researching algorithms for social media and what are the catch hashtags? What are all the things that I need to do to bring my face to the forefront and make people realize who I am? Because I'm also not local to here. A lot of the agents in this area are local. They grew up here. They're related to a lot of people in this town. They know a lot of people. I'm just, some girl that moved here from Yellowknife and is trying to make a name for myself. So that's what I focused the first 6 months of my career on, was trying to find out what nobody else was doing and bringing that into my business and being consistent about it. Social media, no one did social media. Facebook, everyone had a page and they posted once a week. Like they did the odd little things, but no one was really leveraging it to get clients into market. So I started throwing my face all over social media. I started doing open houses for other agents and Facebook Lives before Facebook Live was really a thing. It had just kind of started ramping up. All those little things that was just to get my face out there to the world.
That was so smart, Megan, looking outside of your market. And it's like marketing 101. How do you differentiate yourself? And I think that same lesson applies today. It's like, look, because everything old becomes new again. And it's so interesting, like, especially in this market in Ontario, it's like things have slowed down. Sales have gone to half. And it's like, okay, well, if people aren't just calling you because you're a realtor, how can you go out and get business? And that's where it's like the hardcore, door knocking. And it's like, not a lot of people are doing that now. Right. And so it's interesting that, things that were old are, become new again. But in your case, it's like things that aren't happening and you're looking outside the market to be able to implement. I wonder when you see the opportunity out there, do you see anything else that's new that perhaps a lot of markets aren't doing right now? Because your marketing, I know you have a very sharp marketing mind and creative, and I'm sure because you started like that, you're continuing to see innovative concepts and whatnot. Do you see anything like that now in any markets where it's like this market is not doing this and you can implement this? Do you see any trends right now?
We're actually in the middle of doing a lot of research right now to find what the next thing is, because, every time you do something, everybody else catches up to you. And I never want to be playing catch up myself. So right now I have my assistant doing research into where things are going. And, and a lot of people are on TikTok and things like that. And I feel like I'm not the generation of TikTok, but I'm trying to make myself the generation of TikTok. I'm obviously not 20 years old anymore, but that is the market of people who are now looking at houses. Those early 20s are the ones that are looking to get into the market, especially a market like ours where there's a lot of investment opportunities here. So we've kind of started leveraging more of like that side of things that are outside the box of what we were doing before. But, I still want to find, and I'm on the hunt, and I feel like we're close to finding it, the next little step to put us in a different category as everybody else. Because like you were saying, like the door knocking, things like that, we are at the top of our market, but we're still doing those things. We still put the door hangers on the houses. We still do all the advertising. We still do all the things. We're plugging away every single day. And it's just my partner, Corey, and I with our assistant. And we just hammer the marketing and we try to do different things. And like, honestly, we started doing a little bit more video with her and I, and a little bit more natural video where it's her and I sitting and having a conversation. We did a whole series of staging videos where we actually went into my house and we staged my house. And we just kind of took what my house looks like on a normal day, which, let's face it, I have 2 kids. It's not always great. and did like a 30-minute quick stage, moved some stuff around, and did a video series where we showed people like, this is the before, this is after. These are little things you can do to help prep your house before we come in and do the final prep for you, and threw these videos out. So it's something nobody else was doing. So we're trying to still do a lot more of those kind of things where we're looking at what people are doing in Toronto and in Ontario and in other markets, BC and everything like that. I never, ever, ever look at what anybody in my market is doing. I don't follow anybody else's pages. It's not that I don't care, but I don't care. Because if I see somebody else's good idea here, it's going to go in my head like, oh crap, why didn't I think of that? And I don't want to think about what anybody else is doing here because it's just going to make me focus, and I don't want to copy anybody else here. I always want to be authentic and I want to be original.
Yeah, no, that's really smart. And I think that mindset forces you to stay accountable to look outside, because it is very easy to start looking internally. And then it's like, it's kind of like competition there back and forth rather than, they call it like blue ocean strategy, right? Where you're looking and how can I create something that's not there right now? And really, really smart. So Facebook Live, open houses, door knockers. Is there anything else that you either did when you first started or now from a lead gen standpoint that allows you to generate business? I mean, your transaction volumes, it's very large. I mean, you're doing 234 transactions in a year. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how you're able to do that with a smaller team. And I mean, you did your solo year as well, like 188 transactions as a solo agent. So I'm going to be talking about how on earth can you do that many sales on your own, which is incredible. And a mom, and like you're like at the same time you're juggling time. So that's definitely a talking point. I think you got a superpower that I want to like figure out what is it that you did. But maybe you can. Was there anything else like from a lead gen standpoint that you're doing right now that you can share with us?
It's a lot. We're a lot of online. A lot of our lead gen is through social media. We're doing a lot of it that way. With us being a military town too, we get a lot of relocations into Cold Lake, right? So there's a lot of people every single year. This time of year right now is our very busiest season because the military coming in on their house hunting trips, and they come in and they have 1 week. They get here on a Monday. By Friday, they're leaving. They have to buy a house, do a home inspection, and do all the things within those 5 days. So it's not like your typical buyer who can sit and look at this house this week, wait and see what comes on the market next week, go to another house. They're buying in 5 days. And as an agent, you need to know how to formulate that week so they get everything done. The pressure is not too high on them. And that's one of the biggest things that I offer and my team offers is that door-to-door service when it comes to these house hunting trips. I had a slow start to a year 2 years ago. And I sat at my desk and I can't just twiddle my thumbs. If I'm slow, I got to figure out what I can do to not be slow. So what I did was I created a military relocation guide. And the way that I created that guide, I didn't just make this guide and say, hey, I've got this guide, call me. I went onto my social media and I reached out and I said, hey, I'm thinking about creating this guide. As military people in our community, what would you want to know if you were relocating to Cold Lake? What are those topics you would want in a guide to help you get familiar with the area, have the resources necessary, that kind of thing. So I had all these people reach out. So right now I've got one point of connection right there. All these people reached out and they gave me their ideas and they gave me insight and all this. So I created this guide, and it's my favorite thing to do. I used to do marketing. I don't get my assistant to do it. I do it myself because I like making these things, which realistically it should be her doing it and not me because I have better things I could be doing with my time, but I enjoy it. So it's kind of like my peaceful time. So I created this guide and I got it about 75% finished. And then I figured, okay, before this is live again, I'm going to reach out to the military community again. So I reached out again. I said, okay, I've got this guide. It's like 75% finished. Who wants to test read it and give me their opinion of what's missing? And all of a sudden I had 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 people messaging me on social media. And some of them were not my clients. And they're saying, oh, I'll take it. Send me a copy. I'll give it a read. And so I sent it off and got all this free feedback from them. Oh, you should put stuff about the vet clinics, like where we get contacts for vet clinics. Oh, what about doctor's offices? All these kind of things. And so there's my second point of contact. And then you know what? Got it all finalized, got it all pretty. Every link, one of the feedback was make all the links inside of your guide clickable. So if you send me an electronic copy, it takes me everywhere I want to go to get the additional resources. And so once I got it all done, that's when it went out, and it went out to all the bases. So when I did my ad for social media, I targeted every single base in Cold Lake. And the amount of business that I've been able to get with that guide every single year since then, and I tweak it every year, add a little something different if I change some of my providers, things like that. But the way that it was branded was not a you're going to buy a house in Cold Lake. It's a you're going to relocate to Cold Lake. Here's some resources, whether you're going to rent a house, whether you're going to go into military housing, or whether you're going to buy with me. Here's the information you need. No pressure that I'm telling you need to buy a house with me, but you need to know about doctor's offices. You need to know about schools. You need to know about job search areas that you can look for jobs in this area, fun stuff for the kids to do. This is your guide that's going to have all that information. And you know what? If they go into the military housing, there's a high likelihood 6 months from now, once they realize they don't want to live in there anymore, who are they going to call? They're going to call me. So it might not be an automatic, but they now have my guide. They have my name. They're spreading my name. And I've just given them a resource to help them feel settled into their new community.
Megan, that is so smart. You're such a genius for doing that. Like, I mean, it seems so simple, right? To ask them what they want, but to actually do that post and then to reach out and then curate that, it to me is like genius on how you pulled that off. And it's simple, but I mean, a lot of agents wouldn't do that, but you executed on it in a big way. And I love as well that it wasn't like this hard sell. This is like, if you're relocating, here's what you need to know, whether you're buying or renting, right? And so as a byproduct, it's very attractive because it's like Megan is delivering all his value, and Megan's the relocation expert, and Megan knows what is important to us. And it does that in a way that is highly leveraged, because it's some work up front, but once it's printed, I mean, it's there.
Yeah. And it's low pressure, right? And people don't feel the pressure, because I'm sure anytime someone says looking for an agent in Cold Lake, they get bombarded with messages with this, with that, with the other. Like it's the pressure gets put on by having a resource saying, hey, if you want this, and I'll send it to them, and I won't even say like, are you looking for an agent? Here's some information on Cold Lake. And 90% of the time, they're the ones that say, oh, well, I think we might be looking to buy. And then the conversation starts. But it's just you know what? I'm in a whole bunch of military groups on social media, and someone says they're relocating to Cold Lake. Send me your email. I'll send you a copy of my guide. You can learn what Cold Lake's all about. Because we are a small little town. Like we're a city, but we're a small little town. We're not, these people aren't going to Winnipeg. They're not going to Trenton. They're not going to, these bigger Comox, these bigger areas where there's a lot more resources, a lot more things to do. They're coming to our small town. And a lot of people have never heard of Cold Lake. I'd never heard of Cold Lake till I moved here. I had no idea it even existed. So, it just gives them that little bit of familiarity before they get here so that they can adjust quickly, because they're only here for 3 to 5 years.
Is there a physical copy, or is it just it's online?
No, I've got, yeah.
Yeah, both. Sorry.
Yeah. So I always email it to them before they come, and then I have a hard copy that they can get once they get here, so they can have one in hand. They don't have to go looking for it.
So smart. Well done. That's very good. It's something that the execution on that is very catering to that market as well. And so if you have a base in your area, I think this is something that can definitely be implemented, which I love it. So, okay. Now from a lead gen, we talked about that. Now, when you meet a client, so you meet a new buyer, can you take us through what that kind of buyer process looks like in order to say, okay, you're coming over as a client? Do you meet with them? Do you just start working with them? What does that look like, that process? Do you have a presentation that you do?
It's pretty, like I'm very much, I'm going to talk about authenticity a lot, but I very much am what you see is what you get. Like what you see online, what you see right now, this is how I am when you sit down and meet. So it depends on the buyer. Some of them they'll call me up and they'll say, hey, I'm looking for houses. I'll say, great. Have you bought a house before? If they haven't bought a house before, typically I'll set up a meeting at the office so we can sit and talk and go through the process. Because I also have buyers and sellers guides, which a lot of us do have, but they follow the same kind of flow and context as my military one. They're the ones I developed first before I did the military one. So I had, that base model go off, but I have that buyer's guide that's very simple, very step-by-step, if you bought a house, 90% of that information isn't going to be good for you. But if you haven't, it kind of gives you the sequence of events to do. So usually I'll sit down with someone who's brand new. We have a lot of first time buyers in our market. So I love working with first time buyers. It's one of my favorite things to do because they're so happy and excited, and every house is shiny and new, and they're, so excited to own their own home. If but there's also those buyers that are like, yeah, I want to go see this house, and I meet them at the house, we go and look at it. It totally depends on the situation, and I'm a bit of a chameleon that way, and I can kind of feed off what that buyer is looking for. Some don't want to sit down and talk; they want to go and look at the house, and then they want to rate the offer right away. So I kind of put it in their hands of what works best for them. I've got buyers I'm meeting today at 4 o'clock, and haven't met him before. We're going to go out. We're going to look at some places, but he's an oil relocation that came to me through oil relocation. So, the level of security, trust, that kind of thing is already there. But like all of us, we're always looking at the safety side. So if I've never met you before, yeah, I'd probably like to meet you either in daylight or in my office before we head out looking at houses.
That's great. And then how about on the listing side?
Usually it's, set up the appointment, go there. I have my seller's guide. I take my tour through the house. I don't ever like to give a price when I'm in the house the first time. Some agents will go in there and they already have a set price in their mind. I tell my clients when I get to the house, I'm not giving you a price today. I can give you some houses, I can give you a ballpark, but I said, I need to see the house. I need to take my notes. I need to now bring that back to the office, and I need to do my CMA for you. And I am very old school with my CMA, and my clients seem to love it. I don't have a beautiful printed out CMA that I do for them. I have a lot of handwritten stuff on sheets of paper, and they love to see the numbers just laid out that way. So I'm very old school in that, and I learned it from the realtor that kind of got me into real estate. That's the way she did it. So I started copying the way she did it. And my partner, Corey, used to be that agent's assistant. So she does it the same way as I. So her and I, we work very much in tandem and doing it the same way. And our clients seem to really like it. So it's a matter of getting there and getting to know them and getting to know the house, back to the office. Within a day, I usually have a price for them, and we move forward from there.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I know that authenticity people would really relate to. It's like, yeah, Megan, like she gets it, and she's like really down to earth, and really, I'm sure the connectivity would be really strong in those appointments. I'm curious, when you're at the listing table, you go through, you come back, you present the price, and you're sitting there, and what I've noticed through the years is with agents, they get to that very end, and they're sitting there, and the seller's looking at you, you're looking at them, and it's like a lot of agents will say, okay, well, let me know if there's any questions, and they leave. The closers, what I've seen is the top agents, they're able to transition that conversation to the next step, as in asking them to come on board as a client. What do you say when you're in that, you're at the end and you're asking them to take that next step? Is there kind of an overall closing line that you use to transition them, or is it just a matter of putting the agreement in front of them and then asking them to sign? What's your approach when it comes to that moment?
I'm very low pressure, so I never come with a listing contract with me, and I never make people sign one right then either, because I tell them, I'm like, you know what? If you say you're going to go with me, I don't need a piece of paper right now. I trust you. You trust me. I trust you. This transaction is going to work. Again, we're a very small town, right? But I am always about next steps. So before I leave it, I'm like, okay, so if you guys, if we're going to move forward with this, let's figure out when we can get some photos. Let me find out what the photographer has available, and I'll send you the dates that he has available. We can get that set. I'll get Corey in. She can do some staging and get things ready to go, that kind of thing. So I'm always giving them those next steps so that they know that it's, okay, it's not just, this isn't the end of things. Now we're going to do this thing, and then we're going to do this thing, and then we're going to do this thing, and it's going to continue on. So they're already got in that mindset of, okay, the next thing I need to do with Megan is I need to figure out the timeline that I want to get these photos done. Okay, how much time do I need to get this done? Okay, she's going to bring Corey in. Corey's going to come through the house and help with the staging, because I'm not going to lie, I'm not great at that. That's Corey's strong point, and I'll bring her in 1,000 times over to do that. So it's giving people that next step so that their mind are already thinking, okay, what do I have to do next with Megan to get this house on the market? And giving them the confidence that I have all the steps already prepared for them so that they can have as little pressure as possible as they go forward.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So they come on board with you, you go through with the preparation of listing. Is there anything you do throughout the service, we'll say, journey that is like, that you think it is differentiating for yourself, that is like maybe a little bit of a wow, that's kind of above and beyond, that you think really goes a long way when it comes down to servicing a client and getting more referrals?
Well, I think it comes down to the fact that in our area, we're actually the only team that has our own dedicated assistant. So nobody else here has an assistant. There's not a lot of teams in Cold Lake. There's my team, and then there's one other team, and those are the only two teams that we have in the whole city. Everybody else are individual agents, and the other team doesn't have their own dedicated admin. So that I think is something that our clients really like, that there is that other point of contact, right? And our assistant Mel, like she's been with us for just about a year now. She's in the process of licensing herself and everything too. And we've got down the processes where, okay, this email is going to come at this time to give you the next steps. And she's going to send this off to you. And then once we have an offer, she's going to send you this email. And then once it's all closed, she's going to send you this. So everybody always knows what's going on. Because I think that's the biggest thing, especially when someone's selling a house for the first time or buying a house for the first time. That level of not knowing is a very stressful thing for them. Not knowing what the next step is, not knowing what they need to do next. So as long as we keep giving them the information and keep that communication completely open, I think it puts the buyers and the sellers at ease. And Corey and I always try to do a group chat with our clients too. So we'll do a group chat with everybody involved. And that way everybody has the exact same information. So if I'm not available, Corey can pick up the phone call right away, or she can answer right away. If I'm even sitting here, having this chat with you and a client's messaging and Corey notices I'm not answering right away, well, she can chime in. So no one feels like they're being left on red and not responded to and not important. And when you carry, we've got, I think, 65 properties on the market right now between the two of us. So when you're carrying that much inventory, everybody wants to feel like they're the most important client, which they are. But with 65 people, if everyone's messaging you at once, you have to divide and conquer, and you have to figure out those strategies in order that they all feel like they are your only client and they're not just another number.
Do you keep, is that through text, or do you have like a separate platform like WhatsApp to do that?
We usually do text. It's
simple.
We still find it the simplest way. We do a group chat and figured out how to label the group chat so I don't message the wrong person, which I have done in the past. And there's always a little, I name each group chat and I put a little house on the corner, so I know that that one has to do with real estate and not to send the wrong chats.
Yeah. No, Megan, I love it. You're so right. Like you said something here that was really good. Them not knowing what the next step is a big issue. And if you can fix that and get ahead of that for them, I think that's actually one of where I think the balls are dropped a lot when it comes down to service. And, it's interesting, especially at the time of offer, offer comes in, they sign it back. And let's just say the client signs it back to the opposing party that they have until, say, 8:00. Well, 6:00 comes around the next day, 7:00 comes around the next day, and they haven't heard anything. And then 8:00 comes around the next day, it expires, and they didn't hear from their agent. That is like toxic to the relationship. As a client, I'm like, well, not only did the other side like reject our offer, but my agent didn't communicate. And so it's really interesting. Like for us, I'm training the agents constantly about update the client, even when there's no update. There's no update. It's 6:00, like even before. Hey, it's noon the next day. Yeah.
As long as they know that something is still happening, even if nothing's happening, nothing is still something happening, and not being communicated with, not being told what's going on, that just leaves them in this place of what the heck is happening and wondering what they're paying us for, really, in the grand scheme of it. Like, why are they paying us all this money to help them sell their house if we can't even spend 5 seconds to let them know that we're still waiting?
Yeah, no, and I like your group chat idea as well, because you might be tied up for a few hours where there's an offer expiring or whatnot, and you have somebody there that can actually update them on that basis there as well. So that makes a lot of sense. And they have that support. And I like how you're using that as a differentiation as well. When you're speaking with your clients, I think use what you have, and that makes a lot of sense to me. I think the communication, when it comes down to it, once you have a signed client, it's easy to just keep them in the dark. And it's like constantly, here's what I'm doing. And every time you tell them what it is that you're doing, you're adding value. Oh, okay, good. This is what I did, all this. And, even if there's not a result, you tell them what it is that you're doing. Like they appreciate that. I know I do.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's, and that's why a lot of our business is referral. The amount of times it's like, oh, so and so sold their house with you. Oh, this person bought their house with you. And the thing is, they remember, right? Because a lot of my clients are coming from out of province because of the military side of it. And I'll have clients that relocated 3 years ago. And then someone at the base that they're now at is like, oh, I'm going to Cold Lake. They're like, well, I use Megan. Here, call Megan. She's great. She's wonderful. She knows the military process. And so I'm getting referrals from people I sold 3 years ago that don't even live in the province anymore, because people remember when they get good service. And in a town like this, in a small community like this, and with the military, it's such a tight knit community, and the military like to help the military. And so they will talk, and they love to share who they had a good experience with, because they know the pressure of trying to find a house or trying to sell a house even on such a short timeline and be able to do that relocation. And the oil company is the same thing. When I have oil employees coming in, typically they're coming from Calgary to here, and then they're going back to Calgary. They're also on that same short timeline that they have to buy a house over a few days, and they've got to make that decision. So a lot of our business here is that short-term buy and that very needed quick sale so that they can move on.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Now, outside of providing like excellent service, is there anything else you do to generate more referrals? Like, do you ask for them, or do you like? Is there anything else you do to increase that number?
I actually am a huge advocate of going to conferences, going to events, going to the National Sales Conference for Royal LePage, going to, part of the Chairman's Club, going to those events, because a lot of my business since I've started going to those events has come from other agents in other areas who are sending their clients to me because they know me now. It's not just, go through the database of agents and find who looks like they know what they're doing and pass that name along. When I send to another, it's the same thing for me. When I send to another agent in another military base, I know that person. I know them really well. They've now become friends. They've been not just colleagues, they're friends of mine now. And the only way to do that is to go to the events and to do the networking and get to know these people. So when my client says that they're going to Winnipeg, I'm like, oh, you know what? I've got the perfect person for you. I was just chatting them on the phone. I was just at a conference with them 2 weeks ago. I'm going to give you their info. They're going to be perfect for you. And so I know that they're going to be taken care of. I know, and vice versa. When people send them my way, they know they're going to get taken care of because they know who I am. I'm not just another real estate face on a website. I'm someone that they've met, that they've spent time with, and they know what I'm all about.
Makes a lot of sense. And yeah, definitely those connections. It's nice to be able to have that where it's like, yeah, like Megan, yeah, no, we chat and you're going to have, a blast with Megan. She's phenomenal. You have to use her. So, that's like another way of having conversations, I think, with agents. That's like, how do I get more business? Well, you got to have more conversations, and that can mean conversations with other agents to, be able to, build those relationships that when they make the introduction, it can be more of a personal introduction. And there's actually more accountability to the relationship as well. It's like, not only do I not want to disappoint the client, but Megan, if I do a bad job, Megan's going to be upset with me. And Megan's probably not going to send any more business my way. Megan is probably knows other people as well saying, here's the bad experience. So it becomes, there's more accountability to that, which is something that I actually speak with clients. It's like when there's an introduction, there's more accountability. So let me refer to an agent, and let me refer you to Megan because there's more accountability. Megan's going to want to do a good job, not only for you, but so that I keep sending her more business. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes both ways, right? When another agent sends me one of their clients, like, I mean, I obviously put my 100% into any client, but I need to make sure that they're happy, and I keep that other agent kind of informed of what's going on too, so they know that I'm taking care of their client because they've trusted me. They've sent their person to me saying this, and that's goes to their reputation too, right? If it's a really bad situation with me, their client's gonna go back to them and be like, you know what, you put me with a complete dud, and this was awful, and I don't want that because that's going to ruin that relationship that I have as well. So it's such a relationship building business. And I think there's a lot of agents out there that miss that step, that it's not just about building your business within your community. It's about branching out and reaching out to other agents and getting to know other agents in other jurisdictions. And that's also how you get to these new ideas and these new ways of marketing. When I get together at conferences, a lot of us military people all get together and we have a meeting. And I've shared my military guide with them. I've given them all copies of it. I've sent it to them. I said, use it, like copy it, do whatever you want with it. Don't give it to anyone in my market, but use it in your market and share it with all your colleagues, because or whoever is on your team, because it's the only way we're all going to grow and we're all going to be successful is if we help each other out. It doesn't have to be a dog eat dog industry. We can help each other out. We can help each other prosper. And I think that's what is needed a little bit more.
Mm. It was interesting, Megan. There was a broker that I met, a mortgage broker actually. Saw him at the conference recently, and one of his assistants came up and we had sent some business to him. He's like, how can we get more business? How can we get more of your business? This was the question. I'm thinking to myself, for whatever reason, I don't know, just really like irked me, because the right partner would say, how can I provide you more value? How can I bring more value versus how can we get more business? And so why I love your approach, like with the guide, for example, here, let's meet, let's share ideas. Here's the guide, like just take it. Yeah. And, use it. I love that. That's coming from a giving. And it's interesting that that's actually the best way to receive is this rule of reciprocity. Robert Cialdini talks about this, right? And it's interesting where the top agents I find, they just tend to like give. And I think there's exceptions to the rule there, but what I found is that the more I give, the more I get. And I mean, it's one of those laws, right? That's in the world. So good. Oh man, this is time's flying by here with you, Megan. It's really cool to see, your expertise and your niche, and then your, been able to manage while being a mom. So I want to talk a little bit about, you have two younger children, right? I can see even from our conversation from before, I can see like you're a great mom, but you also have an intensity when it comes down to business as well. So I want to know your productivity hacks. Like, how can you, for example, you doing the 188 transactions in a year while being a mom and managing it. So how are you able to do all of that at the same time?
That year, like 188 was my max, and that was about 3 years ago. And I would never recommend that to anybody. It's, I was still an individual agent. I had a part-time assistant at that time. I think I'd just got an assistant at that time. And my first assistant, because I wasn't sure of this whole assistant route or anything like that, was actually my nephew, who had never had a job before. So, we were already figuring out that dynamic. And the 188 ends, my kids at the time were, what were they, like 6 and 8 or something like that. So they weren't self-sufficient. And it was definitely hard, and it was definitely exhausting, and I probably wore myself to the bone. But that was the last year that I was an individual agent. The team formed the next year, because you also need to realize where your limits are. And when you're doing that many transactions, something has to suffer. And I refuse to let my clients suffer, because that's my reputation. That's everything. But I also, on the flip side of that, I don't want my kids to suffer. My kids, obviously based on their ages, like they've been in the real estate industry their entire lives. Like my son, I'd carry him a bucket seat when he was 5 years old. It was the first house I sold after I had him. He was just in my arms, and I showed a house with him with me, because that's just what you have to do, right? So my kids understand. They're very accepting. The amount of times they've sat in cars while I've gone in and shown a house, and they just sit in the car and they wait for me. It's just part of our dynamic. But they also are learning, and this is where I think it's really important for my kids, is they're learning what hard work can achieve. They're seeing their mom go out there and grind and work and do all the things. And yeah, maybe I miss the odd thing. I try not to. And especially lately, I don't miss that much anymore. But they see me doing those things, and they see the results of that. And they see, they've come to appreciate it. They've come to appreciate the fact that mom works really, really hard, and she's doing everything she can for our family and to build our family and to give them everything that they need. And for kids who have pretty much everything they could ever want, they are still very grateful and very humble children. And that's something that I want to always instill in them, that they see that you can work hard, but you have to stay humble in what you do. And so that's something that I work with them every single day on. But 188 deals in 1 year, it's, you do the math, it's one every 2 days that I'm closing, and it's exhausting. And so that's where the team came in. And now that having, another agent with me, and Corey and I working together, and having the full-time assistant, it's giving me a little bit more flexibility, that I can breathe a little, and I don't have to worry about missing kids' events. So My kid has a concert. Well, I call Corey. I'm like, look, I got to go to my kid's concert. Can you take this buyer for me and take them out and show them this house or do this or do that? And we have this level of sharing between the two of us. It's the same thing. She's away this week having her little time away. So I'm covering everything for her. So I'm taking care of her clients and everything as much as I can and taking her buyers out that she's getting. So we're giving each other that little bit more flexibility in our lives that I think is necessary in order to keep that work-life balance that is so important, because your kids are only young for so long and I don't want to miss their things. I sprinted on Wednesday from showing houses to my daughter's awards ceremony at school. And I got there with 2 minutes to spare right before she walked down to get her awards. But there was no way I was missing that. I might have gotten a few speed limits or speeding tickets driving through town, but I was not missing my kids' event, and I refused to let them suffer for my business, and I refused to let my business suffer for anything either. So it is a lot of balance. It's a lot of, I find that personally, I am better the busier I am. My brain starts going into this mode where I can keep track of 10 deals easier than I can keep track of one deal. If I'm slow, my brain is not in full real estate mode. And I feel like I forget things more and I'm less on the ball. When things are crazy and hectic and busy, that's when I thrive. And that's when I can just control, to the best of my ability, all the balls that are in the air and keep them all juggling properly.
Yeah. I think that flow is something that, like, I totally understand where you're coming from there as well. It's like you zone out all the details or the details that don't matter. And it's like you're in that zone. And it's what's really cool is, and you would have this for sure, and based on your conversation with your buyer process and your listing process, is like when a buyer comes in, here are all the steps that I do. When a seller comes in, here are all the steps that I do. And then it's like rinse and repeat, where it's like driving a car, right? You're driving a car, you're listening to the radio, you're doing a bunch of things, but you're not thinking about it. And so that's where, when you get in that flow, it's like buyer comes in, there's very little time of waste. And that's where it's like you can start, it's incredible. And we've all experienced this when we're going on vacation. It's like, we got to zone everything out, get into this state of like, I have zero time to mess up here. No scrolling time, no nothing. Like I got this amount because I'm jumping on a plane here soon. And so that's how I would relate that flow that you're talking about. I did 150 sales personally with an assistant. That was my max that I did personally. And then, we built the team to do more than that. But I know when I was going back-to-back listing appointments and back-to-back, I'd work with the odd buyer there at that point. It was exactly that, like wake up and nothing else. So it was interesting. I was really good. And I've kept this skill set, and I'm not always perfect at it for sure, but the ability to say no. It's like business, family, the odd time where there's like golf that comes, it's like, okay, who am I golfing with? Is that something? But that's been many, many no's through things that, are nice to have, but it's just the season that I'm in right now. That's not a priority. So you learn to say no. Has that been your experience?
Yeah, it really is. And, even with my family, they've learned that from March until probably end of August, like mom's on full speed. So they know that, there's going to, especially now, thankfully, they're old enough. They can stay home alone. Life gets a little better. They don't have to sit in the car. They're much happier. And so those months, they know exactly what that looks like. And they're not, they understand that. And they understand that mom's going to be working late days and mom's going to be doing this and mom's going to be doing that. And there's never that moment of, well, why aren't you home? Because I understand and I've taken that time.
Right on. All right. So I want to pivot the conversation a little bit to investing. So if an investor comes to you and they're looking to invest more in real estate, what advice are you giving them in today's market? Say they want to buy secondary property, they want to invest. What advice are you giving them?
Well, in our market here right now, it's 100% that now is the time to do it. Like it's our market for investment properties is so hot right now because our average sale price in Cold Lake is only $365,000 right now. We have a very low average sale price, but our rental market is exploding to the point that we don't have enough rental properties. And we have so many new projects coming to this area that we are kind of primed for that boom of a market right now. So when I'm talking to the investors, and I'm even talking to other realtors when I go to conferences about bringing their clients to the Cold Lake market because of this perfect storm that we're brewing here. We have, the F-35s that the government's bringing in. They're being brought to our base here. So they're retrofitting the hangars, and it's a 10-year project. And there's 850 people coming to Cold Lake over the next 2 years to do this project. So we're seeing this influx of people coming in, and depending on what happens on a political level, we've got carbon capture programs that are supposed to be in the area that's supposed to bring in a lot of people. So there's this perfect storm brewing in Cold Lake that anyone looking for investment properties, I'm telling them now's the time to pick them up before our average sale price starts going up. And right now we're up about 8% this year, and we're seeing that increase just starting to grow. Pick them up now, hold on to them. Rental prices are going up higher than the sale prices, and start building that portfolio of rental properties here.
Is there many multifamily properties there, like apartment buildings, or is it pretty much all single family homes?
No, there's definitely a lot of multifamily, and there's incentives right now in our community for builders and developers to build multifamily because of the shortage that they want to avoid. They don't want, back in 2012 to 2014, before the crash, Cold Lake's market was skyrocketing. We were seeing 15-20% increases a year. And then it crashed hard when oil crashed. And they don't want to see the same thing happen. They don't want our market to go up way too quickly because we've run out of houses. And so the government here is starting to give incentives for people to build that multifamily properties here and build the townhouses and build the apartments and stuff like that, so that we do have the capacity for when things get busy.
Okay, so you buy, say, a single family property there, you're renting it out. What can you cash flow after you say if you put 20% down on the home? Is there a dollar figure of what you can actually cash flow for a typical property, or can they cash flow, like can they carry everything, including the expenses that you're getting from the rent?
Oh, easily, yeah. And it depends on the property, right? Like we've got everything from condos. Like I have a condo for sale right now for $125,000. That's bringing in, $1,800 a month in rent, right? Like the numbers all work out that it's making sense. And it's when we run our numbers with our investors, we run them on the low end. Okay, if the market goes down, what was the lowest of the rent these places were getting from rent when the market was low? Can you still sustain this property if we have to go back to that place again? Because that's where we want to make sure that they're good. We know that they're good where we're at now. We know they're going to be good where where the market is heading, but we want to make sure they're still good at that lower price point if for some reason we have to go back to that.
Yeah, no, that's great, because in Ontario right now, it's tough. Like unless you go way up north, it's hard to find deals that, especially like single family, that the rents will cover all the expenses, including the mortgage. And so you'd be an excellent referral source for, any of the listeners out there. It's like, listen, we have an investor. They want to stay in Canada. They're not really sure what to do. They want to find a property that cash flows and carries itself. Well, you'll be a good introduction for them, Megan.
Well, you want to know something really neat about Cold Lake, and it's something that a lot of people don't know about, is we're actually exempt from the foreign buyers ban here too. We're outside of that foreign buyers ban area because of the size of our area. So if you have foreign buyers who are wanting to invest in Canada still, and they're waiting to see if this ever lifts, we're that market where you can still give them that avenue to be investing in real estate in Cold Lake. So it's kind of a cool thing that there's not a lot of busy markets that are exempt from that foreign buyers ban.
Excellent. Well, Megan, this is a phenomenal conversation. Time was flying by here. I got 3 questions and rapid fire, and then we're going to wrap up. You ready? All right. So, big reader. I'm a big reader. I love books. And I'm curious for you, Megan, what book has made the biggest impact in your career?
My career and my personal life, easily it would be Untamed by Glennon Doyle.
Can you give us like a quick, like what's this?
What's it about? So
Yeah.
it's essentially her story of her life. She'd written other books before. It's a story of her life and how she put herself first and being a little bit selfish, but to bring herself to a place where she's happy in life. And that was something a couple of years ago I needed to do for myself. And that book was handed to me by a friend of mine, and it changed my viewpoint on so much and just changed everything that I was doing in my life.
Yeah, put your own oxygen mask on first, right? When you can do that, you can save other people. So good. Love that. And that's so good. Like that's actually a really good point, is one book, one conversation, one relationship that can change everything for you. If you change how you see things, that's a beautiful thing. And that's the thing with books and I mean, networking for that matter as well. But like books in particular is that people spend their whole life learning something, and then they curate the best of what they have and they put it in a book, and then they write it and rewrite it and spend hours and hours and hours, and they curate it. And it's like, we have an opportunity to go and extract the best from everybody's life and the top producers. And so that's why I'm so big on that. And this is a really good example. I mean, it changed your life, right? All right. Next question is 3 words that best describe you, that people around you would say that you are.
I would say tenacious, authentic, and competitive.
Yeah, that's good. I think you nailed it with the 3. That's perfect. And then what final advice would you have for the listeners, Megan, that maybe they're thinking about becoming an agent, or maybe they're an agent today and they want to take it to the next level? What advice would you have for them?
Be a lot of what we talked about today, not looking at what anybody else in your market is doing, and not to get frustrated if things aren't happening right away. They're not going to happen right away. You have to work for it. You have to come into the office. You have to put the hours in for it to work. But don't look at what anybody who's your competition is doing. Go talk to other agents in other markets. Go find out, go on their social media pages, see how they're doing it, and look outwards instead of looking within your own market, because you're never going to find your niche. You're never going to find your mark that you can make on this industry when you look at what people that are competing against you are doing.
So good. All right. So agents that want to refer, send you business, learn a little bit more about you, what's the best way they can reach out?
Phone calls are always the best. I love talking on the phone. I love send me a text. We can talk anytime. 780-545-5454. Easiest phone number out there.
Amazing. Megan, thank you so much for coming on the show. You did a phenomenal job, and congrats on your success.
Thank you so much.
Right on. Well, thanks for listening now. And if you are looking to build long-term wealth, give Megan a call from an introduction. If you are looking to invest more of a passive approach and invest down in the US, go to fulloutinvesting.com and you can learn more about how we're buying these multifamily properties. I love you guys, and keep on going full out.